Hello, mate.
Good morning, Mr. Hudson. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm good.
Good, and welcome all to My Life, My Music, Kit and Caboodle. This one, Al. We're going to be focusing on kits because you did put a Facebook post on the other day saying how much that you liked kit. So we're going to get into that. I just sent you a photograph via WhatsApp with you and a few Chelsea boys tucking into what looked like a bun. What was the story behind that image?
Oh, I don't know. It was, I think it was, they were opening a new hamburger joint in near the ground, I think, and they asked us to go and open it for them.
Because you used to do a lot of stuff like that back in the 70s, didn't you, with Chelsea?
Yeah. Well, whenever it meant a little day out for us, it was good, you know.
Was there much alcohol taken during that day at McDonald's or whatever Wimpy's it was in?
I think we had a few glasses of wine, mate.
You used to have glasses of wine and alcohol, whether it was a pizza bar before blue is the colour, opening a burger bar. I mean, those were the days. Those were the halcyon days, the proper days of football, Al. Not like today. And by the way, 1973, this day 1973, Osgood scored what was goal of the season against Arsenal as well.
Well, I remember that one. Yeah, that was when I was going through one of my bad spells. I remember that quite well. But that was a cracker. That was when I think that was the season he went on BBC Grandstand, and Bob Wilson was doing, or not long after that. There was a goal. I meant not that they didn't go on that season, but Bob went on. Oz went on the grandstand, and he said to Bob Wilson, they showed the goal because they used to show it every week after that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And I was said to Bob Wilson on the show, he said, I watch the show, I watch your show every week. He says, and I still think you're going to get it, Bob. He says it's unbelievable, you know. But it was that good a goal. And I remember, did we win that game? I think that was a draw, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a draw, and then they knocked you out, didn't they, in the replay? 73.
They knocked us out. We murdered them first half and led 1-0. And then we lost to a dodgy penalty, which weren't a penalty. Alan Ball, yeah.
Even back then, you had dodgy penalties, even sometimes dodgy goals that didn't go in, but you still claimed it.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Before the days of VAR, Alan, nothing changes now. The only thing is now they scientifically go through every move of a goal and do the utmost best to try and disallow it, whereas back in those days, the goal's given, let's give the goal, let's celebrate the goal. Football is all about goals. It's all about the kits. I mean, back then, Arsenal wore that iconic kit. Chelsea had that iconic blue kit. Where did it all go wrong with kits? Because today we look at pink kits, ridiculous kind of coloured, tangerine, purple, every colour under the rainbow kits. But how did you firstly develop your love for the kits? Because you did play in a youth tournament, didn't you? And you was really enamoured by that Inter Milan phenomenal coloured kit.
Well, yeah, I think it was you being a kid yourself, and you know, we used to. I mean, I used to, although I'm a Fulham supporter, I used to think about playing for teams with good kits on. You know, I wouldn't play for a team with, you know, if I didn't like the kit. I mean, it was that couldn't come into the equation. You know. And I just love kits, and even, you know, in the school playgrounds, and our school kit and West London kit. I remember our West London kit. We had a nice pale blue kit with a white collar, white shorts, white socks. It was smart. But you know, my mother used to say, you know, she knew I had this love with kits, and she would make so much care, making I was the best turned out kid. It's, you know, for matches. It's unbelievable. And that was, you know, it was autumn school really, and then obviously it took a bit of a swing. I've gone from Chelsea with Tommy Docherty, who had a great. He was pretty much. I think he probably had the same thing as me, same like what it is this thing for kit, because he had the most brilliant kits at Chelsea. You know, the blue one was good, but they had the white kit, but it was more dazzling than the rest of them.
Yeah.
And then obviously when Dave came in, I loved the Hungarian kit he brought in with the green and the white shorts and the red socks. That was a great kit. You used to put that on and you used to think you was a continental player, you know. Uh, but then it all took a turn for the worse when I signed for Stoke, and we used to wear the red and pink stripes, didn't we? Where we didn't have a washerwoman, and the whites, the red would run into the white stripes. So you know, and then obviously even our training kit at Chelsea was top of the shop, you know,
Yeah.
and all laid out perfectly. I mean, yeah, it was sport really, and when I went to Stoke, I couldn't believe that you had to wash your own kit, you know. And it was a great story about Peter Shilton because he took his home and his missus said, "Don't bring them home here." She said, "If you think you're going to dive around in a mud all day over that training ground, and then come back and expect me to do that," she said, "You got another thing coming." She said, "Don't bring it home." So he had to stay at the ground. They had a washing machine at the back of the dressing room, and he used to wash his own kit out at the back of the ground. And and while he was away, Terry Conroy, John Mahoney used to put the weights in his bag. That was the weight strip they used to put on him. And then he put his kit back in the bag and he'd walk out and everyone said, "That's why he's got long arms. It ain't all them press-ups he's doing, you know. It's the weights in the bag." So there's a story behind the kit as well. Sorry about Tommy Docky hiding in the kit cupboard, you know.
What was that then with Tommy in the kit cupboard? Who was he hiding from for a start?
No, it's someone was talking to me the other week, and I was, well, you know, they always say Emily News was quite famous because the Liverpool lads didn't like him because they said that he used to go into Shankly, and Shankly used to use him as his spy.
Yeah.
And every dressing room might have one, you know, where you know think they're getting with the manager and everything else. So Tommy went into the bridge one day. He didn't need his own spy. He got Norman Meadows to lock him in the kit cupboard in the corner, and before everybody got into the ground, and he said, "Norman, empty that kit cupboard," and he got all the kit out, put it in the back room, and he said, "And lock me in it 5 minutes before the players come in," and he did. And he was in the cupboard all through, all before training when the lads had come, when Venables and George Graham and all that, and that was how we found out who was talking about him and who weren't. So you know, it was so no surprise when he sent them all open Blackpool that day, and he split the team up. So you know who you know. It's unbelievable. You think he would have bugged it, wouldn't you?
We probably yeah, but
Who'd have put
in them days, probably bugs wasn't as apparent
I
as what
don't
they
know.
are
I
today.
don't know. I don't know. I think there's enough old Bill around here that had bugs, mate. Like you know, around the Chelsea station around here. But you know, he'd have got the old Bill round there, bugged the place. Why didn't he use to flood the pitch for me, and he'd use a bug, you know. But yeah, so that was Tommy's. I mean, it all comes under the kit and caboodle, doesn't it? You know,
Absolutely.
and
What was the feel? We got the look of the kits and how they, were washed. But how did they actually feel? You did say that you felt $1 million and almost like the Hungarians when you wore that kind of kit. But what was the feel of the Chelsea kit compared to the Stoke? Was the cloth different? What was the best kit that you ever put on? Because sometimes it's like with any garment of clothing, isn't it? You put it on and you feel great, yet others don't feel as good. What was the best feeling kit that you ever wore, Al?
well, I think it was the Hungarian one.
Yeah.
It was a red shirt,
Mm.
and you know, as you're talking, you remember the '70 World Cup
Yeah.
where England always, you know, under when they had the World Cup team, especially in Mexico, that was a great kit. But I think that was when they first brought out the lightweight kit
Yes. Yeah.
at the air. Something
Mm.
they called it the air something kit, and you know, that was a magnificent. They were magnificent shirts, and then they come into play, and we wore them a few times You know, I remember putting that on a few times at the bridge, and they also had that in green as well. I mean, it's amazing. That although you know, I mean, I really like the Stoke kit, believe it or not. I love their away kit. You know, I
Yeah,
wear the shirts. You
yeah.
know that you brought out, which were great.
Hmm.
Uh, they were superb. You put them on, and you felt like you're playing in Europe. You
Yeah.
know. And that was a good thing about that. And I just can't believe that Tony, you know, never used that as every away game. You know, I think he tried to stick to red and white stripes as much as possible.
Teams
But
did though in them days, didn't they? They only really wore that away kit if there was a colour clash.
well, they did, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, they did. I mean, some teams never had a away kit, did they?
No,
It's unbelievable. But I think some teams who didn't have a away kit didn't need a away kit because they didn't clash with nobody.
exactly.
But funny, strangest thing is. It was a kick in the quite right kick in the balls yesterday for the women's football, wasn't it? Did you read that in the paper?
No, what happened? Enlighten me.
They played. Arsenal played. I think Arsenal
Chelsea.
women. Yeah.
Yeah, Arsenal
Uh,
played Chelsea, didn't they?
I know they played. I know they played. And just said to my son, "It's the first time I was going to have a bet in a women's football match." It looked, you know, the big prize, Chelsea. But they turned up at the ground and they forgot the socks.
All right. Well, they wear
And
stockings.
yeah, the stocking. Well, we call them stockings anyway.
We used to in the old days, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah, they were. They were called stockings, weren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, they were.
But it was in the paper yesterday that the kit man got a right bollocking, or kit woman, kit caboodle woman, and they she had forgot to pack the usual white socks. Oh no, the changes socks because Chelsea wore white socks.
Got ya. Yeah.
So they had to go into the Chelsea shop and buy so many pairs of socks for Arsenal to change their socks into a different colour. Can you believe that? £12.95 a pair of socks. And they're earning about 50 grand a week, these birds, aren't they?
Unbelievable. You couldn't make it up. But having
Well,
said that, you know, teams famously have had to go to sports shops and buy kits or change. I remember in the, what was it, 78 World Cup, one of the teams, the kickoff was delayed because there was a colour clash and they had to use the team that they were playing at the ground, I think, their kit to save the kits from clashing. But you must,
yeah.
did you ever come across that, Al, in your days where you would turn up, whether it be Chelsea, Stoke, or even Seattle, Arsenal, and you had a clash of kits, and at the last minute you had to change, or somebody, a kit man, did forget something in there, so you had to beg or borrow?
No, I know.
No.
I
Hmm.
can't really tell you the cases were, but I can remember a couple of cases where they've had to borrow the home team's kit,
Yeah.
home team's away kit to play the home team,
Hmm.
where they balls up and not thought about bringing it, you know, the colour clash, you know. But you can't believe it, can you? Really?
You can't be.
You can years ago, but you can't in today's. We got Sky TV, and I mean the reason the pitches are so good and the kit's so good and everything today, you know, is only because of Sky TV, and they pay for all that.
Yeah.
Uh, and you wouldn't see years ago people throwing their shirts in the crowd because they'd have to pay for them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, we only had two match kit shirts,
Hmm.
I think, in them days. You know, but now they do them for fun, don't they? They just, you got the little children beggars, haven't you? You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
can I have your shirt, please?
don't they have a kit for the first half and a top for the second half as well? Some players they do have a number of kits. Throw it into the crowd, as you say, to a kid, and then do a
Yeah,
shirt swap with the player.
yeah.
It would have used to been player that was marking you, but it's the stellar player, isn't it? They're all trying to get a certain player's shirt. So I don't know what they
Well,
do,
yeah, yeah.
toss
There was.
coins or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose I suppose they made certain cases, but
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day really because it's the day's got to come when you got a little kid on his dad's shoulders holding a sign up. Have you got 50 grand? You know, we're getting thrown out. We're getting thrown out. Have you got 50 grand? I mean, that's got to be next. I mean, when you're putting on there, can I have a shirt?
I
I
know.
mean, my goodness gracious, can't believe it.
It does
But,
go crazy though. I mean, back in the 70s, the only time you'd ever see a placard really would be at a cup final, or certainly in your case, welcome home, Uddy, when you come back and played for Stoke City. But going
yeah.
back briefly to kits, in the 1958 World Cup final, Brazil had to go to a local sports shop and buy their kits, the blue kits, and then put the badge on there because the Brazilian, the second kit was a white kit. It clashed, and Brazil wouldn't wear white because Sweden wore the yellow. So Brazil's kit was yellow. Sweden wouldn't swap because they were the home team. Brazil had to, but they, as I say, they wouldn't wear the white kit because it was superstitious. They got beaten in the 50 World Cup final in that white kit, and they refused to wear it. So they had to go and buy, and that's why Brazil wear blue as the second kit.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, it's
Mm.
what Chelsea did when they give the Inter Milan kit away, didn't they?
I don't know. Tell me about that.
Well, that was the story goes that they lost in the semi-final against was it Hillsborough? I think against they they lost 2 years in a row before they actually got there in '67. I think they lost to Liverpool when they played in this kit, and I think Tommy Dock they come in the week and Tommy Docherty give the kit to Johnny Hollins. He says who ran a youth club team or
Yeah,
something, and he gives the team or his pub team or something. Johnny Hollins would have had a pub team. He would have given it to us, wouldn't he?
yeah.
To me and Oz, it was a pub team, but it was yeah he did, and they would never seen in it again. So that would have been Chelsea's away kit, full stop, if they'd have won that semi-final.
Blimey.
Unbelievable.
And in 1973, you wore that red top, white shorts, green socks, and Ipswich wore their yellow kit for an FA Cup game at Stamford Bridge. Do you know why you both pretty much wore away kits? Because famously in the 72 FA Cup semi-final with my team Birmingham City against Leeds, both teams wore the away kits there. So there's a lot of like, why did teams wear those kits? That doesn't make much sense, really.
Well, I could understand it was a semi-final or a final
Yeah,
if,
but both teams wore their
yeah,
second
yeah,
top.
yeah.
Hmm?
I don't know. I remember that we were changing in the porter cabins at the time. I
Hmm.
remember that game well. Bill Garner got both goals, I think, and Chelsea won 2-0 beat Ipswich. I remember it being a horrible game, and I remember falling out with Brian. Well, I had words with Brian Mears after the game, and it was the most awful game. There was no football; it was just punting the ball up the field. And it was a typical, you know, Chelsea were on the slide, and we were just struggling like hell. And it was awful game to play, and it was
Hmm.
so far away from when we won it and winning in Europe and all that. And I remember Brian Mears walking in the dressing room with his big uh, fur coat on and saying, "What a performance!" And I said to him, "What game you been at?" And he kind of looked at me and couldn't work it out, because it's all about winning in the cup, isn't it?
Yeah,
But I think I was
yeah.
on one of those the really bad run of mine, the bad spell of form with my ankle and everything else. And yeah, I remember that game well. So it should have been, you know, I should have been celebrating really, but I weren't. That was a time when I weren't happy at the club
Yeah.
and not even in that kit, you know. But that I mean, I remember Hungary wearing that kit. I mean,
Hmm.
they had a player that was very much when Osgood started his, running with the ball and going past and swerving past people and all that. I remember the Hungarians had a player like him in the '66 World Cup called Albert,
Yep.
and he reminded me of him. So I wondered if Sexton, because he was the one who brought that kit into play. although it wouldn't. It took him a long time in '66 to bring it into play, unless he watched a replay of Hungary playing or something, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's funny how kits come and go, isn't it? You know.
It's funny how players come and go as well, Al, because I remember doing a podcast with Big Ron, and he was talking about, because I'd never heard about this Albert. He watched a lot of the World Cup games in '66 that were played at Goodison, because he got family up there that got a dairy up at Goodison, and he was telling me about this Hungarian Albert and said, what a player he was, let me tell you. And as you
Yeah.
say, Dave must have done that. I mean, obviously in '66 he wasn't Chelsea manager, but he must have put it on the back burner and thought, if I ever do get to be a manager, and then he did, and he thought about Albert and Ozzy, perhaps that was the reason that Dave bought in that kit.
Well, I wouldn't think. I wouldn't have. Yeah, there's a kind of a link there, but I wouldn't think that Dave would do something like that. Although he was, say, Dave was a very superstitious man.
Yeah.
There could have been something to do with that. I don't know. Somewhere along the line, I don't think. I remember him every game in the FA Cup when we won it. He wouldn't put. He had a jacket wore the same jacket with no button on.
Right.
I used to think to myself, why don't he buy himself a new jacket? You know, he's got plenty of money, I realised it was that. You know, so he was pretty superstitious, Dave. But I wouldn't think Dave would have. They don't have the shirts in the coaching manual, do they?
No, not at all.
So he wouldn't have come across that. But no, it's you know, even as a kid, you know, I loved the Fulham kit as well.
Yes.
And you know, it was so plain, so simple. I don't know. I mean, some of the kits that England have worn over the years are disgraceful.
Yeah.
Absolutely disgraceful. I always think of Bobby Moore coming out of the tunnel, you know, looking like really proud to have it wearing an English shirt, which he was, and always like he would come out. I used to be a lot like that, you know. I used to really want to look well coming out, you know. It was all part. It was all part of the, you know, how you playing for a game, you know. You want to look your best. And I think that's why I love the good kits, you know.
And going back to, well, staying on the theme with Bobby Moore, Bobby said to you, didn't he? You know, playing for England is the greatest feeling, and you know, concentrate on playing for England rather than your club. Unfortunately, when Ramsey didn't pick you, when Bobby told you he was going to make your debut in '72, and then you were banned by Ramsey, Revy brought you back to fail against West Germany. You played twice. You know, sometimes with players, fans and the media don't understand what's going on. Bring it back forward to this Ben White scenario, and he's been absolutely hammered on social media and the media, but no one really knows what's actually gone on with Ben White. You know, sometimes a player thinks, well, stuff you, I ain't playing.
Yeah. And you've got it and nail on the head there. It's their fans have no idea. They don't take the player into consideration at all, unless he's their favourite player, and you know. But no, they don't know the ins and outs of what goes on and the reasons why.
Yes.
I'm strangely enough, as we're talking, I'm looking up at the old Stoke shirt and with the yellow with the blue thing, and we wore that in. We were very unlucky when we wore that in Ajax in Amsterdam when we got knocked out on away goals, and we should have won. We could have scored the last kick, but so you know, there's good memories about kits as well, you know.
And that Stoke kit, it was that you had the white one, didn't you, with the red sash on it when you played at Highbury, because you scored your last goal in the Football League there, didn't you?
Yeah. I scored once at Highbury. I went there. I played there for 18 months and never scored for them, and I've scored against them for Stoke. So it worked. It was unbelievable, really. That was a good kit. You know, they were great kits, and as I said, I can't believe that. Because Tony loved a bit of style as well, and he likes the way you play. You've got to be stylish, and and to look good. And he was that kind of person. He had style, whatever he done. He didn't look like it, but whether it was music or whether you went out, it was always to the best places, and everything was the best. And I can't, I can only think that he had no say in it.
Yeah.
Who wears the kit? I don't know. It's something that. I should have asked when I was at Arsenal. We had a fella called Tony Donnelly, and who looked after everything. Looked after the lads. He looked after their booze. He looked after everything, and all the lads loved him. They was used to bang him a drink. I think he was the one that when I played against Man City that day, when we ran up the tunnel, me and him laughing when he said, "I've never heard nothing like it," And but he was a great fella, Tony. But I should have asked him because he knew all the ins and outs how to run a dressing room.
Yeah.
There's more to it than the eye.
I'm not coming on. My feet are cold.
That was great. That was great. I think Don appreciated that one as well.
Again, you don't leave your best player on the bench. Do me a favour.
Well, it was music to my ears really because they got. Strangely enough, that was the year we got to the cup final, and we should have got the two cup finals that year. The League Cup. I think Pat Jennings played incredibly well up at Main Road, and they come back and for 45 minutes we couldn't get the ball off Man City, and they had I think Asa Arthur and I think Williams, who was at Southampton, who's a good
Williams,
player, good footballer. We just couldn't get the ball off him, and he was from about 20 minutes in. Don Howe was saying to him, you got to change it, you got to change it. And those were the days when we only had one sub, so it wasn't as if he was talking about it. Anyone, it was obvious. And then all of a sudden, about 10 minutes before half time, he says, "You're coming on." And I went, "I'm not." I said, "My feet are freezing, mate." I said, "Tom, come on, we're going to get warmed up." I said, "You polish me boots and I'll put my feet under the tap." And I had the hot water run under my tap as the doors swung open, and I gave it was still 0-0. So we were still in the tie, but luckily enough, we were still in the tie. And then I said to Tony, I said, "I'm going to get you through this game." And I took over, and that was the best 45 minutes I had in an Arsenal shirt, mainly because I knew I couldn't play for 90 minutes with the injury I had, So I knew the injury wasn't going to come on to me because it was a abdominal injury, which it's like anything you got an injury, and that's why they cortisone you for the 90 minutes, So it won't come back. But there was no cortisone in that part of the body, But that was a good night. That was the night really that Arsenal see the real me, and I wish I could have played like that all the time there.
And of course, in those days, the kits had numbers on the back, didn't have the name on the back, they just had the number. So when you picked up that shirt, for instance, the Stoke City shirt, that was George Eastham's number 10 shirt. The England shirt, Johnny Haynes's. Okay, Johnny had long retired, but it was still the number 10 shirt that Johnny Haynes had worn. But, there's history in that shirt, isn't there? Okay, it's not the same shirt, but to think that player had put on that number shirt, one of your heroes, etc., that must give you a lot more satisfaction as well than picking up a shirt and having number 66 or the number 71 shirt that they have today. No history in a shirt today, not like it was back then.
No, it's silly, it's silly, and it's silly roster of 70 players. But I think what you're saying is, it's everything's in the mind, no matter what. That's why people get superstitious or whatever. But everything's in the mind. And when I was a kid, I didn't want to wear any number, but 10, And I thought I was a number 10. This number 10 they talk about on television. I haven't got a clue what they're talking about. I haven't got a clue in a million years what that's all about. But number 10 for me is a great inside forward.
Yes.
All the great inside forwards played number 10, apart from Jimmy Greaves wore it a few times, and it looked too big on him, because he was only tiny. The number looked bigger than him. But it was something a bit special. Like, as you say, it Stoke, when you pull that on, I just knew that I was following a player.
And to listen to the rest of this podcast, head on over to www.patreon.com/SRB Media. Thank you.